All right, so we're going to tie a kind of a bass jig right now. I was gonna go live, and it took a little bit to get this together. So what we did was we took these, and if you look, I talked about it in a previous video, but I glued them. So I had to use a type of almost like a fabric type of glue. It'll be okay in water. So even if it does come apart, I mean it's gonna be okay, and the fish will still grab it. Basically, something that can be washed, like you would use for doing clothing. But we're gonna make like a type of kind of bass jig, and we want it to look. I'm gonna make it look like try to make it look like a purple and blue jig, but I want it to be made from partially hair. So it's gonna be like a combination jig. But we're gonna get going on it. It's gonna be kind of fun. And so this is gonna kind of resemble. If you look at what I'm doing, I want that to stick out this way. If I can get it to, because what we're trying to do, what I want it to do is, I want this to be able to roll kind of over and out. Really doesn't matter necessarily, but it'd be nice if it stays like how I want it to. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the other one on top, or the one when I get this one down. So we want that one to kind of roll out that way, just a little bit. Almost, I would put them like this, like a crawl tail would be, like next to each other. But this is gonna do the same thing. I kind of want it this way versus putting them together. Like I've done jigs where they're together like that, but we're gonna do it like this. And I got a little glue on this one, but when I get ready to fish it, it'll be alright. But I wanted it to be blue. I wanted that blue and black, just like you know, um, the heavy like a, I don't know if they call it like a, I don't know, like a swim jigs or something, or like one of the jig and crawl. This is kind of what that is, but we're not even putting a jig and crawl on it. This is the crawl. It's gonna be the crawl. It's gonna just be hair. So I'm hoping it comes out kind of like I wanted to, and we're gonna have fun with this. We're gonna see how it looks like when it comes out. It's been kind of. I think this will be a fun. Some thinner in there. But to get this glued in, we don't want that rolling too much. But it'll be kind of fun. And yeah, we just got some things we're doing with it. You can see I have some monofilament. That's actually going to be a weed guard. I was going to use 30 pound because that probably would have been better. But I was just going to use 225, 20 pound lines instead. And that's going to be a weed guard for it. Just to kind of keep stuff off of it. Because I don't have, they have those plastic ones that come out. You can buy them like that too and then tie on them. I just didn't have it. I decided to use one I would use for salmon because I bought a bunch of them. So I was like, I'm just going to make like one of those jigs. And I was like, I hope I don't lose it when I do fish with it. Because then I'll be like, man. But then I'll probably I'll just probably order some later on with the actual guards on them already. And then tie the jig, tie them, how I really should do. But yeah, I wanted to do like this and split the tails kind of like that. Get them secured. And what I was going to do is get some to make it kind of more kind of like a crawl. What I was going to do is do this, which I think will be neat. If I can find it. Oh, there. And we're going to take this I think it's gonna be neat. Instead of having like, we're gonna take purple. And we're just gonna use a ton of crystal flash on this, which I think is gonna be dope. I don't know why. I think it's gonna come out looking pretty cool. Trying to get this done because sometimes this camera kind of does weird stuff. And I think it's got a sensor. So, oops, that's what I was talking about. It's got like a sensor. Sorry, y'all. Y'all almost went flying. It's got like a sensor, I think, on this one. If I'm not doing a live, it doesn't know to keep going unless there's, I think it got after a certain amount of time, and then if there's no movement. So if there's like no movement in front of the camera, it'll just be like, it's not moving. It's time to go dormant. It'll like try to go dormant for whatever reason. And I've had it do it to me, and I was just sitting there talking, and next thing you know, the camera. I was like, oh man, this whole time the camera done it like reset and everything. And I was like, but that's not fun. So I wanted to put this in like this. This makes any sense? Wrap just like some crystal flash in here on the top. Basically, like, and like really bundle it close together. Just on the tail, if that makes sense. Just like really close together rather than spreading it out like I would do on another type of jig. I don't know how it's gonna come out. I'm really gonna have to build this part up. I might have to even put something there, a piece of something or another piece of something in there just to build that up so it's not. Yeah, I'll probably use this. This ought to work. We'll put this in right here. We're gonna have to put something to build that up because it's yeah, I'm just gonna use some other material to kind of build that up because there's a big gap right there and it's not even. So I'm just gonna use a piece of feather and glue this in. Yeah, so you could use all kind of stuff for that. There's like you can even buy special stuff for that. Like, but I was like, I don't have any of that stuff, so I can just do this and build the body up with another piece of feather I have laying around. See that little gap in there? I'm trying to fill that gap. Or do I have anything else? I can use a little piece of this too. This will work. Just want to fill this gap real quick. It's basically because when I put this other part in, could have done it better if I used the strips longer. But when I glued them, I'd already glued them because that was like a whole process to glue those. There we go. We want that in there. It was a whole process to glue those tails together. But I was talking about that before. I was like, you can just like glue those together if you want. Yeah, we're just trying to build that little gap up. If you can see. If the video goes out, this might end up being 2 pieces if it'll let me do it. Or you might only get part of a video, or it might turn into a short. But if not, if it all works out, you get to see a whole thing. Yes, I want those 2 to stick out like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then what we're gonna do is see if we can pull that up. it, and then we gonna glue it. Just gotta make sure to get that thinner in there because it's gonna we want it to hold together because the way I'm tying this is gonna. You want it to hold to that hook because it's gonna roll later. Once you start fishing, it'll roll on the hook, and you don't. And I've had stuff the flies do that, and then I just pulled it back with my hand, and then just was like, oh, I need to go home and glue it. And it was like a flute fly I fished too. It was actually a fly, and I was like, oh, I didn't put in enough glue. And I've done ones where I didn't put glue in at all because I didn't have any. But the fishing was really good, and I was like, I don't want to go to this. I want to go tomorrow. I don't have time to go to the store. I want to go tomorrow morning. And I got home in the evening from work, and I was like, I'm going regardless. So I just said, well, this is how it's going. This is how it's going to be. You know, it was one of those situations. Like, this is how this is going to go anyway. Because I wanted to go fishing that bad. All right, so now we're going to do black. Just rabbit. Nothing you ain't seen me do before. But we're going to play the black on here like this. And that's why I was saying I needed to build it up because when I got ready to pull this over and under, it needs to sit right, and I need that glue to really, I need to make sure to glue this good. Make sure that glue's in there to hold all this because that's a lot I'm putting in right here. I'm doing quite a bit with this, for this type of jig. This is the first time I've ever made anything like this too. But I've seen, I was like, I've never made one. I'll just come up with something. We'll see how it goes. 12 minutes in, not too bad. I was like, we'll see how it comes out. But I was just thinking about this one and thinking about this one and thinking about this one in my mind. And I was like, should I tie it live or should I just? I was like, you know what? There's some stuff other things I kind of want to do today. So I might go live later. Might not. It's kind of difficult sometimes trying to go live, and I also support a lot of other YouTubers and fishermen, and I get my own education too from some other YouTubers. Sometimes I'm like, let me see what that's all about. I'm learning something here, and that's a good thing. You learn stuff and you have conversations about stuff that's happened to you. And okay, so now we're gonna wrap it. And this is the part because I just got glue in there, so I gotta be careful. It's tricky because it's gonna try to. You can see it's gonna try to turn the hair kind of funny on me, as you can see. But if you can actually, I discussed this with K-Fish before. But what you can do with their, I might be able to show it after I'm done. But there's a way to keep that. See how it's trying to turn forward? There's a way to do that before you even tie it. When you see how the strips are turning like that, if you take the bunny strip, I'll just kind of talk about it. But you can take that bunny strip in your hand and kind of manipulate the hide, and it'll make it so that hair won't twist up like that no more, and it'll straighten it out. Little trick. I don't know if just something, because we were talking about it one day on one of his lives, and we was tying something, and he was like, man, do you ever have an issue with that? And I was like, sometimes a little bit, but I was kind of like, no, not really. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, because when you buy the cross-cuts, it's when you buy the cross-cut bunny hairs that you get more of that. It's like, because some laws, those are like, it's like basically like they're like cut down the center and then they stop at the ends and they're still connected to it. The hide's still connected to all the strips. And that kind of, I don't know, I guess it kind of warps it and makes it twist and do weird stuff. But what you can do is, I might be able to show it after I tie this down. There's a you can kind of manipulate the hide of the bunny hair before you get ready to. Before you tie it down, and it kind of it'll help eliminate, like, see how that hair is trying to do that. It'll kind of help eliminate some of that because I'm kind of fighting it, the hair in the bottom right there. There we go. So I'm trying to, you can kind of eliminate how it, see how it's kind of bucking forward like that. You can kind of eliminate it doing that. So there's the first part of it. So you can see that little piece right there. Try not to prickle myself with that hook, because you can see that hook. Because this hook is so big for this vise that it, part of that barb is out. And these things, these hooks, these Gamakatsus, and some of these owners hooks, and some of the must-have ones, the bigger one, oh man, they make them really sharp these days, and it's good because you need it for getting through a salmon's mouth, especially like a coho or a king. It's really good. You don't need that much on those other ones, on those rubber nose those pinks, the rubber nose. You don't need as much. You can use almost a wire hook on those, because their mouth is so soft. Like, I've lipped a pink before, literally, almost like lipped it like a bass, even though they got teeth. And it's because their mouth was so rubbery. I could kind of like lip it, but you can't really do that with the coho because their mouth is just like more bony, and those teeth are like razor sharp. And same thing with the king, but those coho are slash feeders. So a lot of times when you troll for those things in the ocean, that's how a lot of times I know I was getting coho bites, actually, when I was younger, fishing on the boat with people. Was the slash marks. I'd see the slash marks, and I knew this, we know the coho struck the lure but didn't get hooked up. And they're a lot of times they're notorious for just some salmon, both cohos and kings are notorious for being slash and go feeders, because they slash at the bait, then the bait flutters down with that spin, and that's that cut plug herring effect, and it spins down, and then they feed. So when they get in a big school like that, they slash at the school at the top. They don't always catch the herring or the minnow or sardine or whatever they're trying to catch, but that's when it flutters down, and then the salmon below will pick up all those damaged fish, those fish that are injured. And so that's why the injured bait fish work so good. That type of movement on salmon is because that's how they feed in a school. They'll slash at the fish, and sometimes they don't get it. And a lot of other fish do the same thing. But yeah, you pull on it like this a little bit, and you move it, and see, now it's starting to, see, it's kind of twisted. It'll start to straight. You just kind of pull on it and straighten. And that'll start making it not have that weird, like it's trying to go the opposite, like it's going to flip back the opposite way, like it's going to be a tail on the other end. It'll straighten it out, and so it'll start lining up like it's supposed to. See it? It's kind of lining up. You have to kind of pull on and then pull it. But don't pull too hard, because you can actually break this with your hand, the hide. But if you do that, it'll straighten the strip out. So it's not as bad, as you can see. See how it's trying to, on the end, it's kind of turning. Yeah, if you do that, and kind of pull on it on the hide a little bit, and twist and turn to straight, like you're basically straightening it, and then you just rub your hands back on the hide. See, it'll actually fix that. So it'll fix it from buckling like that on you. Little trick. Yeah, just a little trick that I kind of started. I kind of figured out, and I was like, oh, and I started thinking, I was like, oh yeah, because I haven't really dealt with that problem. But let me tie this in. We're about 20 minutes in, and I'm trying to get it done before this camera kicks off, because otherwise you're only going to get part of this video. It's going to turn into a short pretty much, and you won't get to hear any of my, you might get to hear my vocals maybe, because it might turn into a long form sort of video because it's over 20 minutes, so it might be. So we're gonna do this now. Get that tied in there good and comfy. And then we're almost done with it. We're almost done with it. But that's a little trick to get that, to straighten it. So that I figured out a while ago. I just didn't think about it much. I was like, oh yeah, you can just do this. Been tying all this time, and I was like, oh. I just didn't say anything to him on this channel. I was like, oh yeah. Yes, I just did this as like, because that's kind of like the craw tails. I was gonna put two little like antennas, like the stick back. I was like, I don't need to do that. Half them craw trailers don't have that. They put like little funny. It just kind of looks like the craw flappy arms. So it's like, this is probably just as good and just as well to a smallmouth or a largemouth bass. And so then we're gonna make sure, yeah, it's snug. And you can see how that hair is trying to get kind of weird there. Just a little bit on that first start, but then we're good right there. And there you go. Yeah, but I wanted it to be blue and black. It's one of my favorite spring colors, and it's almost March. Well, March will be here pretty soon, and hopefully I'll get a couple early big staging bass or something on this lure. And I just wanted a little bit of blue in the front right here. And I wanted to do just like this. There. Just about that right there. Really wanted to stop it right there, but it's fine. Maybe. Yeah, right here. This will be good right here. Oops, sorry, bumping y'all again. I'm bumping you again. Sorry, y'all. Sorry for the little weird filming quality here, but it's the first time doing one like this, and I'm actually tying it down the opposite way than what I usually like this down the opposite way. So this way with the other one, now I'm doing this one the opposite. Basically, I'm kind of doing how a lefty would do it. So I'm kind of semi-ambidextrous actually. And I was telling someone that, they're like, "Are you this?" I'm like, I'm kind of semi-ambidextrous kind of. Because I used to play a sport that required you to use both hands equally. And so I learned to kind of be right. And I kind of want this to stand up actually. So I don't want to tie too much into it, if that makes sense, because I'm not done with it. And I do want that hair to in this case, I do want that hair to stand up like that. What I'm trying to do, the look I'm trying to get. I mean, normally I would really pull this back, but I kind of and tie more thread in, but I'm trying to not do that. Yeah, right there. I'm trying to do a little something different. I want to add this other thing in over the top. And so the last thing we're adding in, last two things we're gonna add in, because I got these. I gotta make sure not to mess that up. There we go. And because I gotta tie down these guards too. So this one's got a little bit of stuff to it going on. I know this is the left. This is the left one. We'll pinch it so we know it's the left. But what we're doing, we're gonna tie all the rubber legs in, and I'm trying to decide, should I tie the rubber legs in forward like this? I'm thinking I should tie them in forward. I'm gonna try it with them forward, if that makes sense to anybody. I'm just gonna go gradually hold it down. I'm gonna try to just use one, but if you get what I'm trying to do here, I'm making a bass skirt like so, but forward, and then I'm tying that in like so. Pretty neat, right? So now those just like you buy those jigs, you know what I mean? Just like you buy those jigs in the store, we're gonna do it with this. But we're doing it in a reversed way. That makes sense. And I think I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna flip this over actually, I think. Flip this forward if I can. It's pretty much tied down so I can cut that off. Not a big deal, as long as they're tied in. And then we're gonna do the same with this one. A little tricky. This is a little bit of a tricky thing, but we're gonna do it this way. I'm gonna do a second one if I can get it in there. So this is kind of fun. Like, I really probably could have just did one and it would have been good, but I was like, you know what, might as well try. There we go. There's your second one in. So we got one that's reverse flipped this way and one that's flipped the other way. So this is a little challenging, right? So basically I'm making a skirt on this, just like when you buy those jigs in the store. I'm making a type of skirt, basically the rubber jig skirt. That's what I'm making. So, but I'm tying it over the top of a bunch of, and this is what's the hard part, is getting this part to work, because you got to get through this hair. If I had a little clip or something, this would be better. But it's coming out pretty good. And yeah, and I got it tied in now, so now we can just go and tie away at our most content, I hope. And there you go. There's a jig, a bass jig, with hair combined together. Fun little thing, right? And I was just like, this will be kind of fun to do. And then once I get enough of this tied down, gotta make sure it's good, because we did both sides, so you gotta make sure and get enough thread in there. So this takes quite a bit of thread to do something like this, and it's a little tricky. But I hope people like to see this. You know, this is a good way to get creative with making your own kind of bass jig. It's a purple and blue blast jig. It just got hair added to it too, and then the rubber legs on the front. So it's really it should have a lot of action in the water when you snap this on a spinning reel or casting rod. And you can do, it's just a little bit challenging. And yeah, so people do make them like this. And I've seen other people make different ones, but I don't know. I've only seen it a couple times, but I don't know if it was like this. So I'd be interested to see in the comments what y'all think about what I just put together here, actually. Anybody who bass fishes, any other YouTubers, anybody of the fishing community, what do you think of this? How do you think this was a neat idea? Do you think this was cool? What do you think? So there's that, and then we still have to make sure to put those in. See how it's gonna sit back on there. It's kind of neat. And then we're gonna tie in. This is the part 2. It's a little bit challenging. It's getting this to go in there. I'm probably just gonna tie it in, and I'm gonna run it through here. Getting the guard in. Might not be able to see if the camera cuts out, but getting this guard in is going to be difficult too. So that's why, sometimes it's better just to buy them, right? Go buy a jig like this instead of doing what I'm doing. But you can make one and have a jig guard and have a weed guard and everything. It's just, bumping stuff. Need to look and see what I'm doing on the other side here. It's just challenging because you got the legs, higgledy all over in your face. So there you go. So that one's pretty much in. I'm trying to see where the hook is versus. There you go. I think that's pretty tight. That'll be pretty good. I want it out this way anyway. And then trying not to cut your try not to cut that monofilament. Yeah. So we got one on one side and we have one on the other side. So it'll kind of push the weeds away just a little bit, and then so when a fish grabs it, and then we have the one on this side, it will do. And so when a fish grabs it, or when it's going through the weeds, it'll kind of push the weeds away. And then here's the other side, which of course is a lot easier to do and see. And you got to kind of see where that they kind of meet. It looks pretty good. Cool little trick, right? Cool little thing to do. Yeah, I was telling someone, I said, you can tie your own weed guard in, and they're like, what? I was like, yeah, that's how we used to. So there's some old patterns on flies. They used to, there's some of those bass patterns. We tie the weed guard in with just some monofilament line. I was trying to just help them out, hip them to it. And they're like, because they were talking about weed guards, and I was like, they're like, can you do that? And I'm like, yeah, you can do that. Because they're claiming they're kind of new to it, or just, but I'm like, they've been tying for a long while. I'm pretty sure you've been on YouTube for a while. But I enjoy watching the person tie and stuff, and I was just hanging out. And I was like, you can do that. Right. There. And this back. All right, and we're pretty much done with this fly. We're done with it. I call it a fly, but this is really a jig-a-fly, because this does have like real artificial, has real artificial legs in it too. Make sure we get these weed guards in tight before we tie this down. The center, right there, and there, 2, 3. Okay, so that's what I was saying. It took a lot of, you can see that, it took a lot of thread to do that. So put those legs in there instead. It took a lot of thread. Yeah, and I kind of missed some of the rubber from the other one there. It's okay though. It's not like the... Yeah, they got kind of tied down there. It's okay. It still will be good. We'll tie it down, I guess, now. Yeah, I pulled some of the other legs the wrong direction, but it's okay. I can still kind of maneuver them before I glue this. If that makes sense. Dang. Now I gotta tie this in. Dang it. I almost had it. Oh, well. Thought I almost had it perfect, and then that happens. That's okay. Almost had it perfect, and then that happens. That's okay, though. They needed to be right here anyway. Like a little bit more, what's the word? Over the, under the, on this other side anyways. But it should be good still. It's not like it's that crazy a deal, I don't think. I'm trying to keep these ones up front. That's what's crazy about this. I'm trying to keep those ones up front and those ones in the back. I think I'm just going to be done with it like it is and see how it comes out. You just can't grab on those legs too much. These legs are kind of soft compared to the real bass. They're other kind of, I think some of the other company ones, because these are the fly tying ones that are made similar to the bass ones. I think they're a little tougher, I feel like, on some of those skirted jigs. The real skirted jigs. Like, but we're going to do this anyway. We're going to do it anyway. We're creating. See, you can make mistakes. I almost had it perfect, though. What I was thinking in my mind to make a bass jig like this. Try not to get in my loop. Try not to get those in my loop right there. Get that right there. So I was trying not to have happen. And that's what the difficulty of doing this with the hair kind of is. All right. Let's see, my thread broke right there. And that's okay, because it's already half hitched down a couple times. We just got to pull on it. There we go. Yeah, 30, almost 40 minutes to tie it. Dinner in there. Came out all right. Like, even came out all right. Not too bad. A lot better than I thought it would. For a first time trying to make one like this. I was like, I'm gonna try to do it like the real trailer, but double. And it came out pretty good. There, get glue some of this hair out of there. That hair out of there. That's fine. Just gotta make sure it gets some glue in those spots, because that's where when those fish grab a hold, if they grab a hold of that right in there. The only thing about this part is a little easier is that it's big. There's a bigger collar on it right there, so you can really get the glue in there. Make sure it holds. All right, that's it. We're done. Unfortunately, it's gonna have to dry. because I don't have the UV. So sorry, folks. We're gonna have to just let it sit, and you can hang out for a minute until the camera even runs out, or it dries up enough where I can take it out of the vise. But as you can see, the hair is trying to stick to it. But this is basically just a little mini bass hack. I almost was gonna do purple on it, but I decided to change my mind because I really like the blue black combination for bass in the springtime. And then I like to use the like almost like a bleeding bait color brown. It's like brown, like a brown, like a natural brown, like a pumpkin seed brown with a red, a little bit of red in it. And that seems to be really good with the craw trailers. Usually, sometimes I use those when I'm tossing jigs in the springtime, because you're looking for those fish, looking for the beds, getting ready to get to the beds, and I get a lot of big. Sometimes I get some pretty big bass, staging female bass that way. They're not quite ready to. They're not quite. It's not quite warm enough for them to start wanting to spawn, but they're kind of still feeding while they're in that area, so they're kind of staging up in between, and they're moving in and out of the shallow areas, but it's still kind of cold, and sometimes a jig is what they need. They need like the jig kind of like wakes them up. They'll bite bait too. I've caught them on bait before, but sometimes that jig moving, and they've been out in the deep water of the lake most of all this time, because here once it gets cold, the fish kind of move out. The bass kind of move out. You can catch them in winter, but they kind of move out deeper, school up and stuff sometimes, or sometimes they're just hugging the bottom, cruising around. Same with trout sometimes, and sometimes trout are suspended, sometimes they're not. They kind of cruising around their schools, doing their thing. But I think this jig came out really cool, really awesome. Let's pick out that a little bit. I think it came out really good. There's a little glue right there. I think we won't know really until this glue really dries, and then we can really look at it. And I can clean off some of the hairs, get a good thumbnail. So you can kind of see, because that was the bottom half. This is the top half. I'm pretty sure it's gonna look pretty good. Yeah, it is. I can see where the legs are gonna lay, because right now they're laying like this, the bottom ones. But these top ones, once I flip them back, they're gonna float back over the jig. It's gonna be pretty dope. I wonder if I can. You know what? Is it plugged in? Get back in a second. Hopefully, maybe I can use this real quick, and this might help a little bit. Where did I just add it? Oh, here. We'll get the. We'll do this for a minute. I gotta be careful though when I do this, because I don't want it to get too hot. But another hack. Low. Another little hack. Don't want it to get too warm though when you put like some of these glues, like this one I'm using, because it will bubble the glue up. So it's on I have this hot gun on like the lowest setting, just because I just need air blowing on it. I don't want to dry it up a little bit. Funny stuff, right? Yeah, it's drying up a little bit. I can see right in there. It's not there. There it's going. I can see it. Just can't let it get too warm, super warm. Okay. We're good. All right, you guys. Let's take it out the vice and take a look. See what I'm thinking here. It came out okay. Not quite like I wanted it. Maybe I should put more legs in it. But it looks pretty good. Definitely got a weed guard on it. Probably just needs to dry more. Here. Hold on. So there you go. So there it is. So let's see if it'll let me do it this way. Yeah, that one leg I accidentally cut it a little bit, but let's see if I can stick this in here. So there you go. You got your own. Let's cut that off. It's just looking ugly anyway. That little leg. There you go. There you go. It's a bass jig with hair underneath. Just like a little weird looking bass jig with the hair underneath. Can't wait to kind of see what it does. And I think I made this part a little too much. And you see I'm trying to get those even. But I don't think it's going to matter to those fish, to be honest. Because I'm pretty sure that's going to have a crazy action on it. Anyways, just by the looks of it. Like, and I missed the leg right there. Like, I didn't get that one. That would have been nice to have that one. That's what was difficult about this was the legs. You know, trying to get those in there right. And I'm sure I could have done it another way and just laid them down on top of it. But I figured the real bass jigs are kind of like that. You know, where the legs are coming out both ends. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do too. And then you got your tail. So that's like your trailers built in, basically. There's your trailers right there. And they're black. So, cool little creation. But that's basically a little round jig. Black and blue bass jig. But it's just got hair and swimming legs to it. So that's gonna be interesting to fish because the body, how the body looks. But you can see the two, like it'd be almost like craw tails. And then these are black underneath. I think it's very bassy. I feel it's gonna. I feel a bass will hit that. Spring bass will hit that. What do y'all think? Drop a like in the comments. You know, drop a like, subscribe, give me some feedback. What do you think? Could I do something a little bit different with it? You know, you can see there's the weed guard in there. There's a weed guard in there if you can kind of see. Camera's kind of being wonky with the focus. But you can, see there's a weed guard in there. Two little weed guards. Just little two 20-pound ones. They're just kind of there. Just kind of help that hook point from catching stuff because that's a pretty sharp hook point. It's still probably gonna catch on stuff, but you know, if I'm careful, you know, I'm pretty good at casting, and when I'm fishing around the areas I'm fishing, I know kind of where some of the structure, most of the structure is, kind of where the stick ups and certain things are. So I should be all right. You know, this is a experimental lure, a little thing I just started. I was like, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna make like a twitcher, but it's gonna be a bass twitcher. But I'm pretty sure this will work on salmon too. But it's just got a weed guard on it. What y'all think? Like, subscribe. Give me some comments on this one. I would definitely like some feedback on this type of thing. I'm sure I could do something else different with it. Yeah, it's got two little tails. Yeah. All right, y'all. Hope you liked it. Cool little throw together creation. Thinking in my mind, throw something together. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Thumbs up. Drop a like. Later.